Thank you so much, Kaylee. We'll check in with the weather a little bit later in the show as well. But right now, let's welcome Mary O'Connell, a 3PL expert. Mary, what is on your mind today? You're talking about tech, right? Technology. Can you have too much technology once you throw out your Commodore 64, all that kind of fun stuff, right?
Yeah, it turns out you can, in fact, have too much technology.
What?
It's just kind of, I know. It turns out when you have like 10 screens open trying to do one thing, it takes you twice as long as it originally did. That's when you figure out that, hey, I think I might have hit my limit. Turns out these in process improvements and these efficiency improvements aren't very efficient anymore. And when it takes me more time to book a load, then, I'm losing money on our sweet tech improvements.
I need 4 cursors with my 4 screens is what I need.
Exactly. I mean, it's like you shouldn't have a whole command center like your air traffic control. You should just be able to have like your 2 to 3 monitors and get it done that way.
Yeah.
Mary, we talk a lot with people who obviously are touting their own technology solutions, or talking about their TMS, or talking about their tracking solution. And one of the questions that we always ask them is, when do you think that tech improvements are coming just for the improvement's sake, right? How do you make sure that you don't have that tech overload and you're not just chasing the newest, shiniest new thing that comes to market? That can be really hard for people who always want to do more and do the best and, elevate their business. But how do you kind of limit yourself from chasing that shiny toy as it runs down the street?
I mean, obviously the shiny toys are very shiny and they are worth looking at because sometimes they truly can be the answer to something that you do need. But for the most part, if you already have a system that's capable of doing that, you just might not have that functionality turned on, then maybe don't buy the shiny toy, or look at the shiny toy, compare it to your current toy. And if it really is shinier, newer, and able to do more, well, then that current toy might be in problems. But no, in all seriousness, just kind of look at your processes and, think of what do you hate doing the most and try to automate it. So if you know that you have salespeople that just spend all day trying to schedule meetings with people, but looking at their calendar, looking at other calendars, maybe get some sort of like scheduling software that makes it easy where people can just book time with them. And I mean, think about it. We've all seen those and they're very handy when you go to like, oh, I need to set up time with this person. Let me look at my calendar and then throw over a couple of proposed dates. And then I have to wait however long it takes them to get back to me. And so it's just kind of one of those where you don't have to wait anymore. You just click and it's done and it's on everyone's calendar. So just little stuff like that might seem like kind of, oh, I didn't even think that there was like a tech solution for that. Little stuff like that will be kind of what you need to get the ball rolling before you start over like undertaking a giant TMS upgrade or some sort of big like payables upgrade, something like that. Something like the little scheduling system can just be a quick win that you get out of the way.
Yeah, a lot of people are fearful of exactly what Kaylee was alluding to as well, is getting too many shiny toys. App overload. You've heard of app overload. There's also, you can't have a broker with 15 different screens open. They're getting nothing done. Multitasking is baloney. It's paying less attention to multiple things is what it is. So what is the number one thing that people kind of throw up there as that hurdle to get rid of that AS400 and move forward?
So a lot of it comes down to cost. Like if you think about it, most of these brand new shiny toys like we see in our personal lives have a pretty hefty price tag with them. And so not knowing if that fully integrates into your entire system is kind of a cost, like it's like a way because you have to know like, okay, well, if I take out my legacy system and I implement this brand new shiny toy, will our TMS be able to integrate with it? Will we be able to still maintain our API calls? How long is that going to take for us to re-implement all of those? And it's that big cost of just not only the actual subscription or the purchasing of that software, but the people cost as well. Because if you have to implement a whole new system, you basically take a couple of your developers, a couple of your software engineers out of your day-to-day problems that they're able to fix because they're going to be working on like integrating this new system and testing it and everything like that. So that way, whenever you go live, you're ready to go. So it's kind of about that kind of, you have to kind of weigh will the potential new revenue I gain from upgrading this system outweigh what I'm currently making and what I will spend on upgrading this and taking people away from our current problem. But that being said, if you have developers and if you can't just spare one because you're constantly fixing problems with your legacy system, I would definitely go ahead and say it's time to upgrade that bad boy. Because if all you're doing is putting Band-Aids over the Hoover Dam that's trying to burst, maybe just rebuild the wall.
So that kind of hits on when to upgrade, but I want to ask you a little bit about where to upgrade, because I think especially when we talk about system upgrades and technology upgrades for the transportation industry, people automatically go to your TMS system or to your load board and help for your brokers. But oftentimes there's other pieces around your business that can really use a tech upgrade, whether that's your HR system or whether that's how people are doing accounting, getting them out of Excel and getting them into an actual accounting software. And that can kind of fly under the radar or go by the wayside because they're not necessarily the ones that are bringing in the ton of cash, but they need that much support as well.
Absolutely. So those typically I don't want to call them the sunk cost department, but the departments that aren't, your flashy sales, your brokerage, that are just basically like printing money for the company. Those departments do need technology as well. And the easiest way that, if you see that there's a system that you like, I've done it before at a place I worked at. We knew that there was a system that was really going to help improve our pricing and it was going to be fantastic. And we knew that we wanted it. And then we put it in our budget for the year and they're like, no. And we're like, cool, that's exciting. We'll try again next year. And then we started thinking, well, if this is something that we're going to do to save money, well, let's just show them how much money we've already lost. So we took a month's worth of invoices for one customer and one carrier pairing because we wanted to integrate this API calls for all these customers and carriers. And we showed that there was X amount of $1,000 left behind that we missed out on for 1 month for one customer carrier pairing. And it wasn't even our largest customer. And so we're like, this is the money that we left on the table that we could have saved. That would have more than paid for the subscription and the cost to implement everything. So basically it just kind of became about showing how you're losing money by not implementing something. So if you have an accounting department that, they spend most of their day trying to figure out how to print checks, well, maybe figure out a way that they can send electronic checks or they can do something and they don't have to sit there and reload the printer, tell everyone, please don't print right now. I'm trying to print these checks, or set up a personal printer or whatever the case may be. It's just kind of listen to some of those pain points and the things that the other departments are struggling with or say that they need improvements on. And, try to figure out if there's a cost breakdown for how much you are losing in your manpower or the capability that they could be doing something else that could be another cost saver down the line. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at some of your HR and your accounting systems is, well, how much time are my people wasting that we can't accomplish other long-term goals as well?
Yeah, and I mean that's excellent advice. And looking at your costs and looking at the implementation cost versus the potential savings is obviously sound business advice, right? Because it can be painful converting over legacy data as well as those systems and moving it over and bringing people up to speed with the new system, et cetera. But looking forward with that new tech is also very important and something that you need to be looking at as well, right? The integration of other systems into it and the potential savings that are there, right? You mentioned AP calls for these customers, but then how does that relate in that new system you bring in? Can it be integrated in the future into others to even automate further and make it more efficiency, auditing departments, et cetera, that type of stuff, right? So if you're looking at that, to keep it non-siloed, you want everything across the board integrated, right?
Exactly. And that's where a lot of that too much tech comes in. So if you have an application that maybe allows you to pay vendors, but then you have another application that lets you print checks, and then you also have to reconcile it against your bank account. Suddenly, if you're trying to print one check, you're going through 3 different systems and they claim to all integrate with each other, but through your own IT capabilities or the company's IT capabilities, they don't necessarily, because everyone claims to integrate integrate with everyone until you go to implement it. And then there's some hiccup somewhere that,
Exactly.
suddenly we can't integrate. So if you find yourself in that situation, to reach out to your rep, see if there's something that they can do, if they can work on something on their end or whatever the case may be. And if not, it's time to review that contract. Do we continue with this license? Do we continue with this program? If we do and we really like it, but it doesn't integrate, maybe we knock some dollars off the price tag because of it, because it's lacking this one of the key functionalities that you reached out and got this software for the first place. It's all about kind of that trade-off where if you know that it doesn't integrate, but you really, really like it and there's nothing better, well, ask them to take the money off. You don't pay people for services they don't provide.
100%. You got to
This is
let
last
them
year's
know when to
style.
cut.
Give
Exactly.
me 20% off. Come on.
All right, Mary, thank you for joining us. As always, great stuff coming out of you. And we can catch you this afternoon for a check call. And where can people go to subscribe to your newsletter?
Yeah, you can find it on freightwaves.com/check call. You can subscribe, catch old podcast episodes, you name it, it's right there.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks, guys.